Hello, my name is Tanya Herr. I'm a technical support of Fibran, the producer of XPS boards. Today we are putting together the SEISMIC foundation pillow on the family house of the Slovenian architect Tadej Belt. So here we are just at the beginning of laying the XPS boards of 400 kilopascal compressive strength. This is the underlayer on top of which we shall put the waterproofing insulation. This phase comes later. One very important moment at the passive housing is to prevent the cold bridges. To prevent them, we need to stick the boards very tightly together. So the joints are very carefully put together and they need to put in the staggered order so they are never in line. The L shape of the edge of the boards is always put in the package the same way, so it is easier for the installers to always just take the board and put it in the right place, the right way. One might think what to do with the leftover like here. The precise measuring will put exact piece as needed in this line. The leftover piece will be put on the beginning of the next line. So practically no waste will be produced in laying down the boards. Here we have a hot wire cutter that forms very even and smooth joints. This is also very important in preventing the thermal bridges. Today is a very sunny day. To prevent the XPS boards from deforming until the next layers come on top of it, we are putting the, as I said, temporary measure, we are shading it with a light geotextile. This geotextile will be removed once we start putting the waterproofing. Here we have the second phase of the SEISMIC pillow. This is the membrane that prevents geopathogenic radiation as well as the radon, the gas, which is a silent killer. So the first layer is one side self-adhesive bituminous membrane with aluminium foil on top of it. The direction of the foil goes perpendicular to the joints of the XPS. So the overlapping is slightly bigger than as if this was laid down as the normal vapor barrier. This is sensitive phase because the protection foil has to be parallel, very carefully removed. So the overlaps and the joints will be properly sealed together. If we go under the angle of 45 degrees, this will enable the smooth removal of the protection foil. Sometimes, due to the length of the membrane, we need to make a cross overlappings. It is wise and it is suggested to even down the overlaps within the one line of the membrane. Thus, we will reduce the thickness of the overlapping joints when the next layer comes on top of this one. Clean and precise installment is very important in each and every phase of the installment of the SEISMIC pillow. Because the membranes here are not the ordinary bituminous membranes, they are self-adhered and they need to be put on a clean, dry and dust-free surface. As the day goes by, the third layer is now installed. We are still on the day one, The whole surface is covered with XPS boards, the first layer of waterproofing, which is also the actual protection of the radiation and of radon, the gas. So the second layer, the membrane that goes on top, the lower layer with aluminum foil, is called Fibran Hydro 1.8 SK, which means that this is the actual waterproofing, only 1.8 millimeter thick. It is self-adhesive, double-sided bituminous membrane. What is also important here is that we lay down the first layer with a half width of the first membrane. Why is this so? Because we wanted to prevent double overlapping of the two membranes. If we didn't do that, we would have at certain points 4 membranes in one line, which we want to prevent. So here the protective foil is removed from the lower layer and the top layer is placed in place. Before we remove the top protection, we shall come with the SEISMIC boards, but this is the next phase. So the colleague here is checking whether the overlaps are stuck together on the proper way before we come with the next layer, which is just measured here prior to removing the protection layer, which will enable adhering both layers together. Since we always need to tailor the membranes to the measure, we need to be careful while doing it on the site to protect the lower layers. It wouldn't be really nice to cut the membrane on top of the lower membrane and actually make a scar, which will produce, or which might produce, the potential leaking afterwards. The next phase here is after putting 2 layers of waterproofing membrane on top of each other. Now we are marking the position of the form elements, which will be the border for the future foundation slab. Our working day is coming to its closure, just for today. To prevent the humidity on the foil and to prevent the foil for the next stage, we are putting back the protective foil on top of the waterproofing, but just to the line where the next stage or next layer of XPS will be put on top of this waterproofing layer. The most important thing is to start in a perfect point. So the positioning the first board will actually influence the positions of the boards to follow. The guys are very precise and we have enough time, so the formula to successful installment is to be as slow as possible, or to be translated as precise as possible. As slow as they go, under a minute 1 row is finished. So when we say slow and precise in whole, it doesn't really mean to be very slow. Underground applications are, or they haven't been always the standard applications, because this is a very sensitive area of every building. Sensitive because once it is finished, it's very difficult to repair anything. So for such applications, the materials need to have a special papers. This is a European technical assessment for the SEISMIC boards, which is done in Germany and actually enables us to build in legally and professionally XPS in the underground applications. The phase which is now at the end of the day here, before we will put the steel for the foundation slab, is the forming the edge in the height of the thickness of the foundation slab. This is the form element made of XPS with grooves on the inner side, so the concrete will stick together with the boards in the horizontal and the vertical plane. The polyurethane foam is here used to glue the two XPS pieces together. Since this foam has very low expansion, we shall wait 5 to 6 minutes until it dries up a bit, and then we will put two XPS elements one on top of each other, and this will be a perfect glue prior to pouring the concrete off the foundation slab.